The easiest way to misunderstand rich people is to think they are only buying nicer things. Cars, watches, houses, and private rooms are visible, so they get all the attention. The deeper truth is quieter. The rich are often buying less friction. They are buying a version of life where fewer things block the path between wanting something and getting it handled. They buy shorter waits, cleaner schedules, faster answers, better access, and fewer annoying steps between problem and solution. The product is not always glamour. Sometimes the product is not being bothered. That is the concierge economy. It is the business of turning money into fewer obstacles, fewer delays, and fewer tiny daily battles. It is not just someone booking a restaurant table or finding concert tickets. That is the cute version. The deeper version is coordination, access, filtering, and problem removal. It is a whole layer of modern life where money buys your way out of the daily friction other people simply endure. That is why it belongs on this channel. It is wealth turned into smoother reality. And once you see it, luxury starts looking different. It stops being only about what someone owns and starts being about what they never have to personally deal with. The expensive watch is visible. The saved hour is invisible. But invisible advantages are often the ones that shape a life most deeply. But the saved hour may be the real luxury. An hour with no line, no hold music, no paperwork, and no chaos can be more valuable than another object on a shelf. This video is about how the rich buy time, attention, and smoothness instead of merely buying things. It is also about how that creates a hidden class divide inside ordinary daily life. And it is also about what that says about the economy everyone else is living in. Because friction is not random. It is built into systems, companies, schedules, public services, healthcare, travel, and the boring administration of being alive. Friction is the delay, confusion, paperwork, waiting, uncertainty, and coordination cost hidden inside normal life. It is the annoying part of life that rarely appears on a price tag. It is the phone call where nobody answers. The appointment that takes 6 weeks. The airport line that eats your morning. The repair appointment that requires 3 separate windows and a mysterious fee. The school pickup, grocery run, car service, insurance claim, and dinner decision all colliding into one ordinary Tuesday. Nothing is dramatic, yet the day feels attacked from every direction. For most people, friction is just called adulthood. It is treated like a normal tax on existing, even when that tax is absurdly high. For wealthy people, friction becomes a market opportunity. If something is annoying enough and enough rich people hate it, someone will package relief and sell it back to them. That is the first rule of the concierge economy. Inconvenience becomes something you can outsource. The task does not disappear from society. It disappears from the rich person's personal schedule. And when inconvenience can be outsourced, time becomes a status symbol. Not loud status, but quiet status. The status of not waiting, not chasing, not explaining, and not begging systems to work. The Bureau of Labor Statistics. Time use data shows how much ordinary life is absorbed by work, household activity, care, and logistics. In other words, most days are already heavily claimed before personal ambition even enters the room. In 2025, BLS reported that on days they worked, full-time employed people worked an average of about 8 hours. Add commute, food, chores, care, and admin, and the day gets crowded fast. BLS also reported that most people engaged in household activities on an average day, spending about 2 hours on them. Those are not exotic tasks. Those are the ordinary maintenance costs of a life. Those numbers sound normal until you realize how little discretionary time is left after everything else gets its share. Most people are not wasting endless free time. They are defending tiny fragments of it. The rich are not magically given more than 24 hours. They simply buy back pieces of the day that other people have to personally spend. The calendar is the same size, but the ownership of the calendar is different. That is why time-saving purchases can matter emotionally. They do not just remove chores, they remove resentment, interruption, and the feeling that your life is made of errands. A well-known PNAS study found that people reported greater happiness after spending money on time-saving purchases than on material purchases. That is a clue that relief can be more valuable than another object. That finding makes intuitive sense. A new object is nice for a while. A reduced burden changes the texture of your week. This is what rich people often understand earlier than everyone else. The highest-end lifestyle is not necessarily more stuff. It is fewer interruptions, fewer forced decisions, and fewer situations where you have to fight a system just to get a normal result. A concierge does not just deliver a service. A concierge absorbs complexity. The client pays not to become the project manager of every tiny inconvenience. That complexity might be travel planning. It might be medical navigation. It might be childcare logistics, home management, reservations, repairs, personal shopping, or event access. The common product is not the task itself. The product is not having to think about the task, follow up on the task, or emotionally carry the task. That is the second rule. Rich people are not only buying labor, they are buying attention back. Attention is the raw material for strategy, recovery, relationships, and better decisions. Attention is now scarce. Everyone wants a piece of your focus. Apps, employers, bills, schools, banks, insurers, platforms. Each request looks small alone, which is exactly why the total becomes invisible. The ordinary person becomes the manager of 100 tiny systems. The wealthy person hires someone to manage the systems. That difference sounds small until you live it for years, because small frictions compound too. They compound into stress, worse decisions, impatience, missed opportunities, and a lower quality day. A 10-minute call here, a confusing bill there, a rescheduled appointment, a late delivery, a customer service fight. None of these alone looks dramatic. Together, they become a life tax. A tax paid in attention, mood, hours, and sometimes actual money. The concierge economy sells an escape from that tax. This is why the market keeps growing. Luxury concierge services are projected by some market researchers to grow strongly through the early 2030s. The exact estimates vary, but the direction is clear. Time-poor, affluent people are willing to pay for organized ease. The richer life gets, the more valuable smooth execution becomes. And newer wealthy groups, including tech wealth and AI wealth, are pushing demand toward experiences, access, wellness, and personalized service. That is important because it shows a shift in status. Old status said, "Look what I own." New status increasingly says, "Look what I never have to deal with." The absence of hassle becomes the signal. No line, no hold music, no waiting room, no chaotic coordination. This is not always visible on Instagram, but it may be more valuable than the thing that is visible. The public sees the vacation. They do not see the person who made every unpleasant part disappear. Now, to be fair, buying time is not automatically immoral. Busy parents paying for help are not villains. A business owner delegating logistics is not committing some deep crime against humanity. And sometimes outsourcing creates real jobs for other people. The issue is not that help exists. The issue is that help becomes a class divider when some people can erase friction and others are forced to absorb it. One group buys relief, the other group becomes the shock absorber. That is the third rule. Comfort is not only what you consume, but what you are protected from. Protection from friction is one of the least visible forms of wealth. The rich are protected from waiting, protected from confusion, protected from low-quality service, protected from the mental load of making every small decision alone, and protection from friction creates better decisions. This is the part people underestimate. Time is not just leisure. Time is strategy. It is the space where plans can form before emergencies swallow them. If your day is constantly fragmented, your planning gets worse. If your attention is always occupied by errands and crises, your long-term thinking gets weaker. If your schedule is clean, your mind can move higher up the ladder. That is why buying time can indirectly create more money. A free hour can become better planning, better work, better recovery, or simply fewer expensive mistakes. The rich buy time, then use some of that time to protect and grow their wealth. That loop is powerful. Money buys time, time improves decisions, better decisions protect money, and the cycle reinforces itself. Poorer households often face the opposite loop. They cannot afford help, so they spend more time solving everything manually. Because they spend more time manually, they have less energy for higher value moves. Because they have less energy, it becomes harder to escape the situation. That is not laziness, that is time poverty. And time poverty can look like disorganization from the outside even when it is actually overload. And time poverty is one of the least respected forms of poverty. People see someone struggling and ask why they did not optimize better. The cruel answer is, optimization takes time too. It takes space to compare options, make calls, read forms, and build better systems. If every hour is claimed, advice becomes another task. That is why the concierge economy reveals something uncomfortable about modern life. The most valuable service may be relief from the system itself, and that means the system has become too friction-heavy for ordinary people. A good society should not require private assistance to navigate basic life. You should not need a premium helper to understand a medical bill, fix a travel problem, or get a straight answer from a company. Basic life should not require elite navigation tools. But increasingly, money buys a translator for modern complexity. That translator becomes a quiet wealth advantage. So what is the practical lesson for normal people? First, do not copy rich people by buying more objects. Copy the logic. Remove friction where it actually matters, especially the friction that repeats every week. Sometimes that means paying for a tool, service, or helper. Sometimes it means simplifying your life so there is less to manage in the first place. Sometimes it means spending a little more on location, reliability, or quality because the cheaper option steals too much time. Cheap can become expensive when it rents your attention. But do not romanticize outsourcing either. If a service saves 1 hour but creates 3 hours of coordination, it is not buying time, it is buying theater. Second, protect your attention like money. Cancel small frictions that keep repeating. Automate what is safe to automate. Create default systems for chores, food, money, and scheduling. The middle-class version of concierge is not having a butler. It is designing fewer stupid decisions into your week so your attention is not constantly leaking. Third, understand the status game clearly. The real flex is not always what you own, it may be what you no longer have to fight with. The final truth is simple. The rich buy time because time is the platform underneath every other advantage. Health, relationships, planning, focus, and opportunity all need it. That is the concierge economy. It is not just luxury service. It is the market for escaping friction. And in a friction-heavy world, that escape becomes one of the deepest forms of wealth, even when nobody posts a picture of it.